And so 20 years, that's a long time to be in the ad agency business. But like, how did that even happen?
I came up as a copywriter, David was the art director, but we've always kind of switched off those roles a little bit and kind of gotten into each other's lanes.
Yeah, at the time I was pre-architecture, engineering, and then I switched majors to advertising. And I did an internship in Miami, and that's where Danny and I met.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So you guys finish up your education, and what's the first thing that you guys land together in New York?
So I was at
Yo, we are here with Bandits and Friends, Danny Gonzalez, David Suarez, and they're gonna take us through some pretty epic history, but also give us the goods on what's going on right now with this new thing. And we're excited, ladies and gentlemen, David and Danny. Gentlemen,
Thank you.
welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having us. This is fun.
So right away, I think the most, one of the cleverest things that I saw already written from the website is Bandits and Friends, an independently owned, award-winning, business-driven, minority-founded, female-founded, hyphen-using creative ad agency. Super clever, love it. But break that down for me. What is it that each one of you do, your current title, and give us a little bit of, insight on what that is.
Yeah, well, we are, to take it back a little bit, we've been partners for 20 plus years.
Wow.
I came up as a copywriter, David was the art director, but we've always kind of switched off those roles a little bit and kind of gotten into each other's lanes. We're now the co-CCOs of the agency and co-founders, along with our president, Courtney Berry.
Awesome. And so 20 years, wow. So that's a long time to be in the ad agency business. But like, how did that even happen? Did you guys go to school together? How did it start? Did you go to school for advertising? Were you, young children kicking around soccer ball one day, age 7, and be like, I really want to be in advertising? Like, how did that all come about? We'll start with you first.
I am embarrassed to say that I was studying my undergrad in advertising. I could have studied anything. I learned right away, like day one at JWT at our first job, that I didn't need any of what I learned.
Wow.
But I knew since like high school, I was like, I wanted to write movies, didn't have the attention span. Wanted to write TV shows, again, just a little too short. So we just kept getting like shorter and shorter. And right at about 30 seconds is where I can handle, so.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what about you?
Yeah, I started out wanting to be an architect.
Oh, wow.
And I went to go see architecture schools in Boston and was crashing on a friend's couch. And my friend's roommate was studying advertising and had a project at BU. And I think the project was a fake brand that was a beer brand that the bottle was made out of pretzel. Some fake project that you had to do an assignment on. And in that moment, I started brainstorming with the roommate, and I realized I was up on this trip visiting schools in Boston for architecture, and I didn't want to do architecture anymore. I wanted to do advertising. I did realize, I think I had the foresight or the clarity, I guess, in that moment to say the similarity of them is maybe it's vanity, but I like to be able to make something and say, hey, look what I did, and everybody pat me on the back. So I have a thing.
That was your motive.
I think,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't
If the roommate would have been a barber or something, you'd be like, look what I did. It would have been a
Exactly.
very similar setup.
I need that positive reinforcement, I think I realized early on. So
amazing.
I think that took me to advertising, which a lot less math than architecture.
Right, but you get more attaboys.
Exactly.
Okay.
You get a lot of those.
And so did you end up going to school for something advertising related at that moment?
Yeah, at the time I was pre-architecture, engineering, and then I switched majors to advertising.
Wow.
And I did an internship in Miami, and that's where Danny and I met. We were both interns at, while in undergrad at an advertising agency in Miami.
Can you say which one?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are still around. Last time I checked, called Bieber Silverstein
Okay.
Group.
Yeah.
They were down in Coral Gables. And I think amongst our interns that were there, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of them, we were the only ones that weren't just there to get credits. We were actually interested in it. So we kind of, I think, took to each other in that way where we were like, well, we're actually both trying to make a career out of this. And then, we finished up school, went to ad school, and Danny was up in New York. I had gone to School of Visual Arts after I graduated. Danny went to Miami ad school, and he was up in New York on a on an internship, and we decided to start working on our books, and kind of just one thing led to another, and we ended up putting a book together and getting a job.
Amazing.
But our careers actually started at Bieber Silverstein because they were so impressed with our creativity, they asked if we wanted to be in the traffic department, back when there was a traffic department. So we were like, oh my gosh, foot in the door, this is gonna be great. In one day, 5 ads went out without any copy. They were Hertz ads for the Latin American market. So if anybody in around 2000 didn't get their Hertz coupon, that's on us. And we took the job at around 9 o'clock and we quit around 4 p.m.
Oh, wow.
So that was our first job in advertising.
Okay.
And we need that represented on our folio.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, were you guys both from Miami originally? Like, where did you both start?
I grew up in South Miami.
South Miami.
Born and raised,
you?
yeah.
And I grew up just north in West Palm Beach, moved to Orlando, so we're both Floridians.
Interesting.
And then I was going to school in Miami when we had the internship.
So there was a Miami ad school at the time. Now, did you both always have your heart set on the big Manhattan ad world? Like, was that the bar to reach from Miami, or was there a scene in advertising at all at that time?
I mean, at the moment, Crispin was the biggest name in the industry.
Yep.
So when I was coming up in undergrad, that's all the stuff you were getting. It was Mini Cooper, it was IKEA, it was like all that huge stuff they were doing for a long time. They just won Burger King. And then when I went to ad school, all the instructors were Crispin folks.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of the spot, but I'd always wanted to live in New York. I had cousins in Jersey. We used to come for all the holidays. I was like, when people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up and I was little, I was like, I want to be someone in New York.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So you guys finish up your education, and what's the first thing that you guys land together in New York?
So I was while attending School of Visual Arts, I was a barista at Starbucks.
That's where the real education was, I
Yeah,
thought.
the real world education. There was the dark days of my life. Graduated college, was working at Starbucks at 36 in Madison, and Danny was interning at an agency called Strawberry Frog, and they were pitching Mini Cooper at the time. I think is there an NDA? Am I allowed to say that?
I think it's
20 something years later.
Right. Statute of limitations, I think, has run out.
And I would, after my shift at Starbucks, I would go after his ad school partner. They worked together. I would go to the agency and start working with him on the pitch. And the CCO at the time and some of the people there didn't know, they were just some random kid working on the stuff. And then from there, we knew it wasn't sustainable. I think we got a couple offers to freelance that weren't even sustainable. And I think it was Kevin McKeon at the time that said, you guys should work together. So here's some people you should talk to. And he started listing out some names of random people. We didn't know any better. So we started writing them down and where they worked. And it wasn't like today when you could search them so easily.
Yeah.
So we went and dropped off our printed out books at all these agencies and put a little handwritten note to all the people that he mentioned, not even knowing who they were. And it was these big global CCOs. Those are the names he gave us.
Yeah, it was like Ty Montague, Kevin Roddy. It was like...
Start at the top, boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think because we put that handwritten note on them, some people assumed that we knew them or they were expecting it.
Oh, interesting.
So that kind of put it, at the time, there used to be closets in big agencies full of books stacked to the top. And I think because of that, a few of them got through and somebody would go and just put it on their desk as the only book to look at.
Interesting.
So I think it was a little bit of right place at the right time, a little luck. And then our first job was under Ty Montague at JWT. They had just won JetBlue, which was at the time a pretty new airline. And we were writing newspaper retail ads for JetBlue.
But at least we weren't trafficking them anymore. That was the whole thing. They were getting out.
Exactly.
You got to know your limitations.
Exactly.
So at this point, you're writing, you're the art director. What is that like at that? So what year would that have been roughly?
2005, probably.
Okay. So at that time, print is still pretty big.
Yep.
You're art directing print. You're coming up with copyright. And you say that sometimes you would switch those roles. Was that starting out early, or were you pretty like, I got to stick to what I do, and you do your thing, I'll do my thing? At what point does that start to, the lines start to get blurred on your official titles?
I think as you get more senior, you're not being asked to do as much, like when you're kind of, because he always had thoughts on the writing, I always had thoughts on the art direction, and we'd talk as a team. But then once there were teams below us, then those things could kind of switch out pretty easily, because, my proficiency at the machine wasn't as important as just my thoughts on, all right, that doesn't look great.
Right. And so this is JWT?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
5 years.
Wow.
5 years, which in advertising terms is
Especially
an
back
eternity.
then. Yeah.
Back then.
That was wild.
And particularly in New York, where I think people professionally tend to be more promiscuous and jump around to different agencies just because there's so many of them. There's certain markets where there might be one pretty good agency or a handful, and you're just less likely to jump because that means, I have to move now. So I think within New York, people tend to jump a little bit more just because it doesn't necessarily uproot your life.
Well, there must have been something that was fulfilling enough in your role there. What do you think that was at that time? Was it leadership? Was it the work?
It was such a big place that I think we had a few different experiences within it, and we'd be under different ECDs and different groups, and that kind of satiated the need for change. But then I look back on our time there and I see all the people that we worked with, and I think it was Wendy North was the recruiter. She brought in crazy talent. And we didn't know it at the time because we're all juniors, and it was kind of a tough place to get great work out the door. It had, layers and everything. But you look back and Scott Bell was there, who just went over to BBDO after running Droga for a really long time. And
Jason Campbell,
who's running translation right now, and Kevin Mulroy, who's now, co-running.
Bianca and Kevin, yeah.
Oh yeah, both of them, jeez. So the talent that was in that room for a long time was super exciting. So we were bouncing things off each other, and it was all we kind of knew. So it was a good spot.
Wow. And so talk to me about what the atmosphere was like there and what was required of you just in terms of your mindset in holding that position, being relatively new, being under some incredible people, but an agency that had so much action happening at that time.
Yeah.
Stressful? Was it just super exciting? One big adventure, highs, lows? What was that experience like for those 5 years?
I think you learn at a big place how the business works quickly. And I think, particularly for young people, it gives them space to experiment and make mistakes. At a smaller place, not that you can't do it at a small place. We have a small place right now, and we want our young people to make mistakes, that we encourage that. That means they're pushing themselves. But at a big place like that, you might have 3 or 4 teams on the same assignment. And so all the pressure isn't on you to solve it, or the assignment's a failure. Somebody else might do it, or they might do it in a different way. So I think we were able to get exposure to kind of the structure of agencies, some of the problems agencies face, how we like to do things, how we don't prefer not to do it. And I think that's probably even shown up now when we created our own agency. We still take some of the lessons and some of the advice that we got back then, or some of the things that didn't work really well, and we incorporate that into what we're doing now.
Yeah. What would you say the biggest rub is now that you have an independent agency in terms of how it's run at a more traditional agency?
Well, I think there are some realities to the autonomy you get at a smaller place, in a place that you run. There was always another layer that things had to go through sometimes.
Yeah.
So sometimes it worked in your favor, and we're never going to talk bad about our times in the holding companies and all that, because they groomed us, and there was a lot of our good times, some of our best work. But there are just realities to having a boss and to having somebody who you're beholden to. And, we've joked around a lot about this, we're going to play up our strengths right now. It's autonomy, we're nimble, we're modern. And as we get bigger, we'll have more resources. If we ever end up, being a part of a bigger situation, we'll say, well, this is our global reach and all those things. So whatever your strength is in that moment, I think you have to embrace it and be about it. But yeah, right now we are a bit smaller, and right now we do have independence, and we are realizing that a lot of people are hungry for that right now.
Interesting. And when you say a lot of people are hungry for that right now, do you mean the talent or do you mean the clients?
Kind of both, to be honest. We're seeing that a lot of clients are open right now to expanding their rosters. With the AORs disappearing, they're a lot more open to speaking to someone who couldn't handle their entire business. And it used to be, a few big shops could handle really big clients, but now as you go around to a lot of these independent agencies, you see the logos on their roster, and it might not be AOR, it might just be a project, but sometimes it's the best projects.
Interesting.
And they're developing those relationships, and if the pendulum swings more towards AORs later on, I think a lot of these smaller places will have those relationships and be a player.
That's awesome. How long did you stay at JWT? 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah.
Did you go to another agency after that?
Yeah, we hopped a couple places.
What was next?
After JWT, we went to TBWA, Chiat Day, New York, briefly, 10 months.
Oh, wow.
Which is after 5 years.
Yeah.
I think we were on the rebound a little bit, and we just needed a little quick hit. So it was great. That was another place where we worked with a ton of great talent in that short span, worked on some fun stuff, some candy stuff.
Jameson was out there.
Jameson.
Kahlua.
So we did some fun work in that brief time. And then not to jump ahead too much, but from there, we left after 10 months. We would have stayed. I think we were pretty happy there. But Jerry Graff called us, who at the time had just started Barton F. Graff, which was a boutique comedy agency. And we had always looked up to him. And he had an ECD, Eric Coleman, that we didn't know, but we loved his work too. So yeah, we decided to jump ship after about 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're at this new place. Before we go there,
Sure.
What would you say the competition was like at JWT and Chiat Day? Like, did you find that competition with other creative teams? Because like you said, they would have multiple teams working on specific projects and brands. And so the idea is that, hey, here's a project, here's the strategy. We want you to come up with some ideas. We're going to get another team to come up with ideas, and then eventually the client picks one. Is that essentially how it goes?
Yep.
What was that competition like in that environment at both places? Was it cheering each other on? It was like, oh, I'm going to get this one and I'm going to knock you guys out. Like, what was that like?
I mean, a little bit of both. Thankfully, it was, all good spirited, and we're friends with a lot of those people still.
Amazing.
But it was competition. Like back in those days, you wanted to be the one who got to go to LA and got to shoot the thing. So there'd be this jump ball with 4 or 5 teams, and we were all friendly and cool, and we'd have a few drinks after work. But when we were writing, it was competitive. It was good.
Yeah.
It's good. Do you guys share notes during that process, or is it like pretty
No,
keep your cards close?
No, come on.
I mean, we've never been, that cutthroat. I've heard of agencies and teams. Who knows if I've met them or not? I don't even know. But where you couldn't or you shouldn't leave scripts on the printer because somebody might see that and maybe they don't directly rip it off, but they kind of get inspired by that. So I don't think we've ever had that, run into that, at least that drastically. But we've tried to, particularly how we work now, how we've worked since then and in our own agency, foster a little bit more collaboration, whether that's vertically where if we have a project that is coming in and it's us and one team, we might work on it too, but we also don't want it to be competition for our own teams.
Right.
So I think a lot of times it's we're working on it, you're working on it. Let's put everything together and work on that stuff together, or horizontally where it's multiple teams and we make it clear if that's the case. In a lot of instances, we're all going to collaborate on this. So to loosen the stranglehold on the ownership a little bit more.
Yeah.
But back then, there's only so many people that can see through an assignment to the end. You can't have, 10 teams on one TV commercial or whatever it is.
Right. Especially if you're at a big agency with other clients too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I often wonder how much of that it becomes from the management culture in an agency on how competitive of an environment you create as a leader. And being a leader now, it seems like I was going to ask the question, do you lean more to a collaborative space with your employees, or is it now, no, we got to I want to have some edge from everybody and then we got to go hard and best man, woman win, let's go.
I don't know if that flies as much anymore. I think the modern creative would call BS on that a little bit. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but it does feel like a writer's room. It does feel a lot more friendly. And maybe that's the environment we're creating. And like you're saying, maybe it's from management down, but I don't see that being a very successful way to run a department right now.
That's awesome.
I would echo that across departments too. One thing that we do is that Danny kind of coined a while back and that we've continued to implement is a group run mentality on any assignment really, and that includes account and strategy that we bring into that. So often is the times, particularly at bigger places, and I think by necessity, sometimes is everybody goes off in their corner and does their job.
Yeah.
And then you come together and you have to reconcile. Everybody's worked really hard and they've worked weekends and nights on this thing, and then it doesn't fit with somebody else's thing. So we try to keep it collaborative, group run, check in early and often with strategy, which I think is maybe more important.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's really an efficiency thing. It's
Yeah.
not really, I mean, I don't want anybody to feel bad, but it's not necessarily about their feelings. It's about how do we get somewhere where at the end of the day, we're going to be on the same page and not have to make everything fit that doesn't fit.
Yeah, which ultimately serves the client the best, which I think
Exactly.
is the insight that I'm getting from what you guys have created in Bandits and Friends. From where I stand as a music creator and, you know, a vendor of music and helping that, it's the same thing. I can have 10 writers on something and I can be one of the composers or writers on the spot, but it's not in a way to try to beat everybody else out. It's to make sure that all angles are covered for what the strategy is, what is the ultimate thing. So I may spearhead, okay, this is what we're going after. Multiple people can execute, and whoever wins, it's great because that's helping the company, which is ultimately helping the agency, which is getting the client what they want.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where I'm coming from as a music standpoint. So I understand how, yeah, it's great if they pick my track, but if they don't pick my track, it's not like, oh man, I feel like that's a big loss.
Yeah.
It's the team winning. And I think that team winning mentality is the culture shift that I'm finding, not just in our space, but in all aspects. You go to a production company, the editors, the directors, they may have a roster, but everybody's kind of championing people. And the work is showing, you know, having judged a couple of award shows this year, like the work that's coming out of all the shops are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that's super encouraging. Talk to me about the work. You know, AI is a big thing now. People, it's the buzzword of you can't, you know, go to any YouTube channel or turn the page without seeing some mention of AI and some new disruptive space. How do you navigate that now as, you know, a relatively new independent agency and you've got this thing kind of barking at you? What is your take on it? How are you handling it? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I want to caveat it by saying it's moving so quickly. Whatever I say right now will seem obsolete and hilarious by the time you publish this in 15 minutes. So
100%.
make fun of me later. I'll go right to the camera. Yeah, you can make fun of me if you want. Yeah, it's just evolving so quickly that we're actually really happy to be younger and smaller. I think a lot of what you see is, you know, an agency that started 100 years ago. They were built to certain realities, and then they revamped in the 70s, or revamped in the 80s, but they're constantly almost like an old house trying to configure to what is needed now. So when something as revolutionary as AI comes out, you look over to those bigger, older shops, and it's maybe a little more difficult to reconfigure how that's supposed to look. When we were at JWT, it was in the times of like the print production department had an entire floor, and that wouldn't be needed in 5 years. But those were good people who had jobs and families and everything, and they had to figure out how to reconstruct that building to make sense for those new realities. So to be in a place right now where we're building to what 2025 is, in 20 years, I want the new pups to come and say, well, you guys are built, you guys are old school now. You're antiquated.
Yeah.
But right now, we're gonna embrace our youth a little bit and say, okay, whatever this is, we're gonna be ready to embrace it.
Yeah, I think we're in the era of AI now where people, as much as they're sprinting, trying to figure out how to implement it in its best way, they're sprinting at trying to figure out how to talk about it in the right way.
Yeah.
To make it seem like they know exactly what it is and where it's going and how it will affect them. My honest assessment is I don't think anybody knows exactly. I think there's some good assumptions, but I think everybody's still just keeping as close of an eye as you can on where it's going and attempting to get ahead of it as much as possible. In the meantime, everybody's using the tools that are available that everybody has to the best of their ability. I think right now it is really a tool. You know, it's not the end all be all yet. Maybe it will be. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows that.
Yeah.
But I think as everybody sprints that way, there is a homogeny of everybody using the same tools in the same way and moving towards the same thing. And I think the people that learn how to crack that and put the human element on that will come out ahead, at least for now. And that's one take of many that will be wrong in 5 years.
David's being shy because of the cameras. His real take is that he thinks it's a fad.
That's true.
He thinks AI is like Second Life or something like that. It's just going to be
Here
gone,
today, gone
and
tomorrow.
exactly.
I'm holding on to my top 7, my top 8 into MySpace.
Yep. We think it's typewriters and paper is the next big thing.
That's it.
It's going to be awesome.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've seen, you know, a few blogs, a few Reddit posts where there's the anti-AI movement that's starting to erupt, and that there's a real pushback because people, as much as we're excited about the new tech and we want to tinker with it, there's a sense of, well, I don't want to lose the special things that were done manually still.
Yeah.
So I think there's a caution to not lose that, and this real push for people that are searching for authenticity, the people that are, commenting in posts, that's not real. Oh, that's not real. They're looking for it on a social network. They're looking at TV and seeing what's missing from it, that, that soul that comes from authenticity, the real thing, real humans doing it. People don't want to lose that. And there's like this real movement that's like, hey, I want to go to a place where I can get rid of my device. I don't want to be attached to anything. I just want to sit in a corner and read. There's businesses that are being built on actually dumbing it down a little bit and removing tech, which is a fascinating take, and how quickly we're moving in this whole AI world.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was the founder of Bumble that was talking about we're in a digital recession right now, or a social media recession. And I think that's true. I do think it's a pendulum, and there's always going to be, I don't think it's going away. I don't think anybody's thinking it's going to go away, but I think there's room for the thing that's different. And I think if everybody's moving that way and everybody's going to utilize those tools, maybe not to not use them, but to use them in a way other people aren't, is the thing that everybody's trying to figure out. That I think I'm most interested in figuring out, not necessarily the first to something, because everybody's sprinting at the same thing.
Sure. What's your biggest fear from AI?
I was going to say dying alone, but
AI might do that too, if we're being honest. You won't feel alone. You feel like you're in a group of people, but they'll all be bots.
Yeah.
The biggest fear is that the creation, which is why we got into this industry, will start to dwindle. That it'll become so easy to create the production and the beauty that the concept and the idea will start to play second fiddle to it. Yeah. It's really awesome to have these tools, but there is a danger to, I can think it and now it's there. I can think it and now it's there. I feel like there needs to be a bit of struggle, or we're going to atrophy our own ability to create for things.
So well put.
I think like the Google search has taken a certain part of our brain for the recall. I don't have to think about who played second base for the Yankees in 2004. I'll be like, do I know it? Nope. Boop. And then I know. And not using that muscle, it's going to go away.
Incredible insight.
Yeah. I think, part of the value that agencies provide is thought and rigor and humanity. And I think when particularly marketers and clients, and I would say agencies probably too, when it's that easy to move from first thought to execution and you miss out on a little bit of that rigor in the middle, I don't necessarily trust that everybody realizes the importance of that rigor in the middle to make it unique and right for you. And if you could easily, to Danny's point, click a button and you have a finished spot, put it on air. I think there's going to be a lot of people will be quick to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it'll end up turning to a lot of mediocrity that is easy and cheap to make, and maybe not even cheap. I think that's another point. I think once everybody's adopted AI and can't live without it, the prices on AI will say, go up.
Yeah.
And then it might be cheaper to shoot something real.
Yeah.
So
You're saying that first hit's free? Is this the
yeah,
mentality?
That's it.
I went on an
Honestly.
AI platform, not to be named, because they need to pay me for my sponsorship. I went on it today, and what was free 2 weeks ago is not free anymore.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's not $5; it's like hundreds of dollars a month in order to get that out, and we're still in the early adopter phase. So I think that could be a pendulum that swings back, where all of a sudden it's not cheap and efficient; it's comparable. You might have different types of control over the output. It might be faster, but I think you'll pay for that speed.
Yeah. When I sit in a voice directing session and look at the nuances that we tweak on every single line, every single syllable, the fraction of space between each word, and how it impacts the emotion that we feel coming out of that moment, it's hard for me to envision a world where you can just push a button and get all that. And it's not just the execution of it and the output. It's the things that you didn't expect to happen that make everybody in the room at the same time go, that, right there.
Yeah.
Those moments, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because the creative process is what makes the creative fun to do.
Yeah.
And it's that thing that makes it fun to do, that you're always trying to chase the next high, so to speak, on your creativity. And I think that's what's fostered amazing creative work and will continue to do so. But when I think of, it's not just the fact that people are going to, lose a viable income because now this machine can do it faster. Better is still on the table, but faster for sure. That saddens me that part of the process could eventually not be a thing.
Yeah.
And, what do we do to stop that? Like if, let's say voice, for example, would you prefer to sit in a 2-hour session and record a real voice actor, or put a couple prompts into a machine and get?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a real actor, I think. I think if I'm being completely honest, there are times when it doesn't matter as much that sure, an AI voice is sufficient.
Sure.
If I needed to explain something or to be straightforward, or I know a lot of people have incorporated AI voices into things like case studies that are more internal facing and just more of a utility than anything else, which I could see a use for that. And I can see the benefit of stuff like that. When it comes to storytelling and emotional connection, I don't know if it's there yet. Maybe it'll get there. But to your point, I think the nuance and stuff and the experimentation and the, even when you, like you were saying, when you can't articulate the change you want to make, somebody else might be able to do it.
That's
or good. That level of nuance, I think will be hard to duplicate. In something like voice, yeah.
What was nice for a really long time is, and we tell our clients this coming up, it's the spot you write, the spot you shoot, and then the spot you edit. And those are 3 different spots because you're putting it through the lens of these very, very talented people with a specific skill set. And they would hopefully, each time it gets better and better. But if you can write the spot, click a button, and it's there, you've actually robbed yourself of all those people's talent. And it's just what you can think of and what the computer can kind of spit out. And my optimism comes from humanity demanding humanity. That when the quality gets to a place where it's comparable and I can't tell the difference, if I know that that is real, if that's a real voice I'm hearing, I think we're going to start longing for that.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a matter of like, you need to put a digital signature on something that's not real because people want that real thing again.
I love that. What are you encouraging your teams to do when it comes to moving forward? Like, is there a rule that you have to make sure that you're protecting clients when it comes to the use of AI? Like, what does that look like?
It's really important. They need to divulge all the tech that they're using before they use it, and we get that approved by clients and what part of those processes and what memberships we have for those different cases, because you get different privacy on different platforms.
Great point.
And we are really diligent about that because we want them to know where it's coming from and where their prompts have been exposed. Because I do think in more competitive spaces, people are going to start looking for that to get hints on what the future is from their competition.
That's a very interesting insight. How do you think the culture based on this now is going to change on an agency level? Do you think that there's going to be more independent agencies popping out as a result of this and people try to like trim down a little bit because now, different departments feel like they need to be run by a prompt engineer versus a whole team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get to stuff faster. I think that's what we've noticed in our kind of more day-to-day usage is it might be the same assignment, but we're moving faster, and that might mean we charge clients less. I think what might take a project that might take a month, 5 years ago, maybe we're doing it in 3 weeks now. Because prepping the deck, getting strategic insights, like some of that stuff is just expedited a little bit. So I think that's the simplest way that we've used it. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think the insight I'm looking for is culturally, how does that work out in the agency for your teams now? Does it feel like the rest of the teams are feeling like, oh, now I've got this amazing tool in my hand? Or is it like a sense of fear culturally that, oh man, I have a job in 6 months because of this thing, so I better start thinking about my side hustle?
I think the cultural rhetoric around it makes everybody scared that they might not have a job in 6 months. I'm skeptical it'll move that quickly. Right now, we're excited by it. I think it's a tool we use that we're embracing. I think we're able to get to stuff that we maybe couldn't have before because you use it to design or get inspiration for design or to, like I said, strategic insights that you might not have thought of, or you might just because you can go through so many so quickly, you might just get to a lot more than you would have gotten to.
Yeah.
So I think we, as an agency, I feel like there's an industry narrative or like a sentiment that this is going to take everything away from us and we're doomed. I think a lot of people said that about Photoshop 30 years ago or 40 years ago, whenever it was.
Yeah.
And all it does is pivot. I think it's going to pivot what we do. Photographers, I'm sure their industry has changed. Maybe it's not as what it once was, but Photoshop has become a tool for a lot of photographers and opened up doors for a lot of other people that might not be photographers, but are visual artists or designers. So, I think we're embracing it and learning how to adapt with it, but I think we're also very excited about it, and it's a tool to embrace because for better or worse, it's not going anywhere.
So what do you say to somebody who's like trying to get into our business now? Obviously with the agency, you guys are looking to hire people and are looking for talent. Are you looking at where did they go to school? What kind of formal education do you have? Does all of that feel at this point completely irrelevant? Because I want to know more about what your access is to the tools and how to use them more so than that, because it is moving so fast.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in a new hire now?
I mean, I think a lot of the same skills are still transferable. I'm going to steal an insight from Kevin Mulroy, so I'm going to go ahead and give him a bit of credit. But the job becomes curation. If it's not creation, it's curation. And we're going to be asking these more junior folks to take the prompts, get 1,000 things back, and be able to pick out what's good.
Right.
Which was basically just our jobs when we were CDs at a smaller scale. So I think they're going to get very, very good at curation by seeing way more output than they were able to do just on their own. And those are going to be the skills that kind of make sense. But I think the people with good taste are still going to rise to the top. They're just not necessarily going to need the hard, fast skills that we needed coming up.
Right.
Like back in my junior days, it was write 100 headlines to get to 10 or whatever it is. Now they can click a button, but they still got to pick those 10.
That's right.
And you still have to, what I would say is, at least to this point, you still have to write the most interesting prompts will get the most interesting results.
Sure.
And
Well, there's a new AI bot that gives you
writes the
prompts. Yeah. It goes boring prompts to good prompts. You stick those into the other thing, and then you pretty much say.
I think that's, whatever day it is, June 25th, June 26th, whatever it is. Maybe I don't want to say that in case this airs later.
I think it's relevant. Say the dates. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's changing so fast.
Yeah, as of today, timestamp.
That's it.
I think there's an advantage to writing more interesting prompts. There's an advantage to the technical skills that go along with. I think all we're doing as every agency and probably every business is we all have the same tools. No agency is using tools that, the biggest holding company agency has all the same tools we have.
Yeah.
So who's going to use it in the more interesting way?
So you have an 18-year-old kid who says, I really want to be in advertising. What are you telling them to sharpen as a skill so that they develop that gut instinct to know after the prompt has come back how to call through all the options they're given and come up with something that's interesting? How do you teach that? Where do you tell them to learn how to do that properly and develop that skill?
I mean, I think more accurately, the 18-year-old might be able to tell us stuff about how to do that. I can tell them what it takes to get to the other parts, but they're growing up with this stuff, and it's really interesting to see. I've got a few of those folks in my life that have just graduated, nieces and nephews and cousins who are thinking about advertising and marketing, and their grasp of this stuff is just so different because it's not as new to them.
Yeah. It's like when I've seen my son play Call of Duty on high speed, it's like, how are you managing this? This is insane.
Yeah.
But they've grown up with it and they know how to move that quickly on super high resolution.
Yeah.
And my father on Duck Hunt was terrible. And he was, he's an expert shot in the Army. This is not some slog, but that dog was laughing at him after every round.
That's so good. Talk to me about the mindset. So you left JWT, went to a place for 10 months. What was the next stop?
After that, we went to a small shop that was, I think we were hired 15 and 16 or so, called Barton F. Graff, with Jerry Graff. And, we wanted the opportunity. Jerry was the awarded comedy guy of our era. And then he went and hired Eric Hallman, who had done the Old Spice guy and a bunch of the famous Skittles stuff, that has his own agency now called Eric and Coleman. And we were like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime to work with these advertising comedic legends. So we did that and we jumped in and we busted our ass. And I think that gave us a lot of exposure to what it's like to be a startup, a young agency, a small agency. We had only been at big network shops up until then.
Right.
And all of a sudden, there was nowhere to hide. Like I said, at JWT, you can kind of hide and learn. And
We tried. You kept finding us.
yeah, but at a place like that, you can't. So it's a little bit of betting on ourselves. And luckily for us, I think when we got there, we realized there's a lot of probably work that we made there that we had presented at other shops that people just didn't like. And we found this common, we have the similar tastes on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we did the wrong work with the wrong audience.
Yeah. Not that it was wrong or not. It was just a preference
Right.
of style of work that we linked up with them and we liked a lot. So
How long did you stay there?
Gosh, we were there for 3 years.
I think a little over 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, we likened it to just sprinting on a treadmill for 3 years.
Wow.
Got a lot of great work done, but missed a lot of life events, a lot of everything. So when we ended up stepping back, we were going to just go freelance for a bit and kind of just cool the jets. I had just gotten married. He was about to get married. And we were like, I don't know if we can continue this and expect to be good husbands, fathers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we were freelancing for a little bit. And then Eric had gone on to Goodby Silverstein in San Francisco. And he's like, guys, it's pretty nice out here. Why don't you come and freelance with us? We'll fly you out and we can kind of show you the ropes and see what this is all about. And it was a good fit. So we went out there and
To San Francisco.
yeah,
Wow.
went across the country. I was there for 2.5 years before moving back east. My wife's family's from Jersey. I'm from the East Coast also, and we were kind of longing for home a little bit. But we continued working together as partners and continued at Goodby.
Like remotely? Mm-hmm. Oh, so you stayed up east and you were still out west and you guys were still doing your thing?
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing the Zoom thing before anybody knew about it.
Wow.
We were real trailblazers. We had a feeling there might be a pandemic coming. We said, let's get ready. Let's be in front of this,
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I ended up being in San Francisco 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So we had probably 4+ years of remote work. And within that, I started getting the itch a little bit to come back east as well.
Interesting.
And that kind of turned into us reopening. They had it previously, but we reopened the Goodby New York office for them.
Oh, wow.
So we spent a few years doing that right around right around the pandemic. So that put a little twist on it where does location matter? And I think it ended up, yes, it does matter. But what does that look like in a post-pandemic, decentralized world?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But yeah, we were super proud of the work we did there and the work, not only the actual client work, but building up the office. And, I think by the time we left, it was 30 or 40 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
So that was the training ground, obviously, for where you're at now.
Yeah.
At what point did you say, we're going to do our own thing? Was that always a dream of you two coming up that one day we're going to have our own shop?
Yeah, I mean, I think at least every creative thinks about it. And I think as you move up the ranks and you start getting into the rooms that were closed to you before, you start to see that it is run by normal people. There isn't some mystification that happens when you reach a certain level, executive creative director, where all of a sudden you know everything. We kind of realized that it was never going to feel like a completely logical move to start our own place.
Right.
But every person who's got their name on a door at some point took a leap. And we felt like we had experience in startups. We had experience in starting places. We knew and developed a lot of the soft skills. Our time at Goodby is very good to their people. And that is something I will admit to any audience. And learning how they manage the business and the soft sides was a good teaching for us. And I think something we needed to get to that next step.
Wow. So was that the next step? Was Goodby the last agency that you were with before doing Bandits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That
So
was
how
it.
long has it been now at Bandits and Friends?
Our 2-year birthday is in 2 months. So
Oh,
we're 20,
yeah.
22 months old.
that's fun.
We're toddlers.
Yeah, we're almost potty trained.
Yeah.
Things are pretty exciting.
Speak for
We're starting to
yourself.
run a little bit.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge doing that?
I think that's a good question. I mean, I have compared starting your own company, starting your own agency to having children, where there are days, it's just speaking to the challenges, where I think to myself, like, is this worth it? This is really hard, whether it's, you don't know where the next client lead is going to come from, the next new business opportunity. Is it hiring people? That was very challenging at first, particularly as an agency that nobody really knew. It's like, leave your job at this big fancy agency, award-winning agency, come work for us. We promise we're a real agency. Was a lot of the conversations. And
That was in our deck for a while. We are real, you know.
yeah, so I think that was, just it's a lot of like micro challenges like that that you wouldn't think of. I always thought hiring would be fun. I thought naming an agency would be fun. And it seems like we have a fun, cool agency name, I think.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of money on lawyers trying to get one that cleared.
We had a few. We'll take you through the graveyard one day of all the names that didn't get through.
We'll cut to a card that just has them rolling up.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
You send it
in memoriam to these names.
Yeah, you send it to lawyers and they're like, you send them 10 names and they're like, nope, none of these, try again. Or this one, but you have to add qualifiers to it.
Yeah.
Or that, that kind of copyright workaround for certain things. So by the end of it, I was like, just name it. I don't give a shit what you name it. Just name it anything.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I just want to write
I'm like,
an ad.
lawyer, can you name it for us? So we have to keep paying you?
Oh my goodness.
Unfortunately, Lawyer Can You Name It For Us was taken.
Yeah.
They're in the Netherlands doing great work.
Yeah.
I always laugh when I get a specific script that has been through the ringer at legal. And it's like, yes, this was not written by somebody who actually wants to speak to humans.
Yes.
It can be like that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest challenges, I guess. How about for you?
There are just so many things about running a small business that I had no idea about. And how would you really? Courtney, our president and co-founder, is amazing, and she takes so much of that off our plate. But there isn't always a lot of time to just be creative anymore. And that's a challenge. One of the things you do get with when you're in a larger place, and a place that's more established, is, oh, how do we get HR? Oh, that's already done. Oh, how do we do this? Oh, the computer's not working, send it to the IT department. When it's like, the computer's not working, let's go buy another one, or let's go figure out how to do this. It's a different beast, and it's a lot of fun, and you're using your creativity in different ways, but it's a different job for sure.
Yeah. What makes you want to keep doing it then?
Because of the good
Again,
days.
about those kids from earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if we described that.
It's on, and this is a cliche, but it's about, I talked about the bad days.
Yeah.
The days where you're like, is this worth it? The good days outshine them by far.
Okay.
The sense of ownership. We don't have literal keys, but the fact that you're holding the keys to your business, and
You have the fob to your business. It's just
fob
pretty amazing.
to the elevator to get to my business that we rent space for. No, but it's that kind of the pride in what you do. I still love the creating of it. I think there are times when you crack a brew. We're sitting in rooms with their teams, and they come up with something, and we build on that, and they build on that, and you crack it. That's why we've done it from the beginning. Where I'm always searching for people to say, look what I did, and now I can say, look what our agency did.
Wow.
And get the pat on the back.
That's it.
He just wants more pats on backs. He's creating a pyramid scheme of back patting.
I have a stiff vertebrae.
What are the highlights for you?
One of my favorite things to do is when we're having an agency event, kind of sit back a little bit and see all the folks who didn't know each other before hanging out, having inside jokes. We've had a couple kids born of the agency, like during their time here at the agency, people have had kids, and that feels like a legacy, and it feels very, very cool.
That's big. What's the biggest goal for you guys right now for the agency?
I think long term is to create a place where I would say when we hire people, I'll back up to this.
Sure.
And this maybe will start to answer that. We tell people we want to create an agency where you'll do the best work of your life, that you can have any job you ever wanted, but we'll treat you so well that you won't want that job. And I think to continue kind of that way of working where people will come and stay for a long time, and not just because they're treated well, but because they're crushing it with the work that they're doing. So I think the balance of those two things, I don't think our ambition is to create an agency that wins all the awards where everybody's miserable. I think it's not worth it, and I think probably is not sustainable. It's probably not great for the work, and I think the clients feel that. So I think balancing those two factors of humanity with the people that work there with putting out great work, I think that's, I think we're not 2 years old yet, so I don't want to talk about legacy, but I think that's the legacy for the agency that I would love to have 20 years from now.
Is it the same for you?
Yeah, that was actually very well put.
Pat on the back.
Another pat, a recorded pat. Yeah, but treating people the right way is going to be a really important metric throughout all of it, because I do think, to David's point, it's not just kind of the right thing to do, but it is good for business. I think when you're turning and burning and getting a lot of people just burnt out and having to leave because they can't continue their lives, that creates a huge vacuum of talent, and that comes back to you.
I don't know, guys. I'm seeing a lot more friends than bandits here because I asked you about your biggest goal, and it wasn't an award, it wasn't a client, it wasn't anything on that level that you would expect from people trying to create an agency in big bad New York. It's amazing you went right to the people and humanity and great work environment, and out of that, I think, is the culture that breeds the great work and a place where people want to stay and a place where people want to get to in the morning and feel excited about, oh, what's the next thing we get to crack?
Yeah.
I think that's super special. And obviously, if you watch Mad Men, that's not the answer you would expect in this industry, but it's incredible to see that there's been this shift, I think, in a lot of places where that is the new norm and what people want. And just hear you guys articulate it that way is really encouraging.
Yeah. I mean, when we're all after the best talent in the industry, there's going to be competition about how much you make, going to be competition about the kind of work, but if we can start to make it competitive as an industry for how we treat people, it's going to be a better spot for everybody, including ourselves.
It's amazing. Well, honestly, dudes, that's amazing. I just want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your history, your journey, and kind of the legacy that you're trying to create, where you're going. I think it's awesome. I appreciate your honesty, your candidness, and man, I wish you guys the best of luck and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.